Hello, students. Welcome to English class. I'm your English teacher, Mr. Oza, and it is time for us to work on classwork number 51. This is an introduction to Afghanistan. And so we begin term number 2. We are going to work on a unit where we read a novel, and the main setting of this novel, at least the beginning of the novel, is the country of Afghanistan. So the novel that we are going to read is called The Kite Runner, and the author is a man by the name of Khaled Hosseini. Now, this is a novel that was written in the year 2003. It was Khaled Hosseini's first novel that he's ever written, and it was also made into a feature film in 2007. It's a really great movie. I think you guys will like it a lot. The story itself basically follows these two kids growing up in Afghanistan. One is a bit of a rich kid, one is a bit of a poor kid, and they love flying kites, and they love playing this game called kite fighting. And so, in this game of kite fighting, when you cut one kite out of the sky, you can run after the kite and you get to keep that kite. That's how the game is played. So one of the kids is literally the kite runner, the kid who runs after the kites. They have a passion for kite fighting. And so, yes, this story takes place in Afghanistan. One of the two kids, one of the two main characters moves to California, moves to the United States. And so it's also a bit of an immigrant story. So we don't have to get into the details of the story. We're going to do that in the next assignment. Today, our goal is to mainly learn about the country of Afghanistan. So I don't know about you guys, but before I read this book and before I really did some research on the country of Afghanistan, I kind of just thought it was a desert country that was a war-torn country. And when you look a little deeper into it, you learn that there's a lot more to Afghanistan than meets the eye. It's a beautiful country with an extremely rich culture, and I would like to point out some of that excellent rich culture with you today. I mean, first, just looking at the geography, there are some ski resorts in Afghanistan. As you can see here in the top right corner, mountains and snow and like just a beautiful, wintry vibe up here. You have canyons and rivers, you have forests, green forests, and you do have some desert areas, as well as, like I said, many lakes and rivers. And so it is a very diverse country when it comes to like the geographical landscape. It's very interesting. I think at least I thought that it was mainly desert, but it is so much more than that. It is, again, a very diverse landscape here in Afghanistan. Let's take a look at the map real quick. Here is, a map of most of the world. We're over here in Massachusetts, over here in North America. Many of my students will be familiar with, Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic, a couple islands here in the Atlantic area. And let's take a look here now at the Middle East. Now, Middle East is a term that, gets thrown around a lot, but we're not always sure exactly what it means. So looking at our five continents here, we have North America, South America, Europe over here, Africa, all right, and Asia. Asia is the largest of the continents, and obviously that's imperfect to what I'm drawing here on your screen, but this area right here is Asia. All right, now the Middle East is basically, roughly speaking, everything within this red circle. So it is a portion of Asia and also even a little bit of Africa too, if you consider Egypt. So some of the countries in the Middle East would be Iraq, Syria, Saudi Arabia, Iran, Afghanistan, Pakistan. And so, yes, let's move on to the next slide where we're going to zoom in on this area. So now that we're zoomed in a little bit, you can see Afghanistan right here. The main city, the most populous city and the capital city is right here. It is called Kabul. So neighboring countries, you have Iran to the west, Pakistan to the southeast, Turkmenistan to the northwest, Tajikistan to the northeast. All right, and then just two countries over here, you do have India. And just a fun fact, you guys, my ancestors and much of my family still is from India, particularly these two areas, Gujarat, which is a state, and also you can see this dot right here on the very bottom. This is a city called Mumbai, also known as Bombay, and also known as Bollywood. So, you know, I have been to India a bunch of times. I have never been to Afghanistan, but I do think I can bring a little bit of knowledge about this area in the world, having been, you know, all the way over here. I won't say I'm an expert on Afghanistan, even though I have taught this novel and learned a lot about the country. You know, I can bring an Indian perspective to the novel and to this kind of region of the world. So here we are in Afghanistan, specifically the city of Kabul. That's where much of the story takes place. I'd like to talk just a little bit about Afghan culture because it's far away. It's a part of the world that we don't know about. And one thing that I will always say, you know, about different cultures and different countries all over the world is this. You know, they might seem like they're very different, the Afghan people. They might seem like they're so far away and we don't have a lot in common. But the fact is, we do. We have a lot more in common with these people than we have different. So I like to focus on those commonalities, those kind of things that we share between cultures. So this is the Afghan flag. And talk a little bit about Afghan food. Kebabs are a delicious food made all over the Middle East, India as well. Kebabs are, you know, grilled meats on a skewer, as you can see, these kind of fancy metal skewers. You can cook these in a clay oven. You can cook these, you know, over an open fire, over charcoal. You know, you've got, I believe, I can't know for sure, but this looks like chicken and perhaps lamb or beef kebabs. You have bolani, and this kind of reminds me almost like a quesadilla. It's like in this example, you have, you know, vegetables wrapped up in bread, and you know, cooked over like a pan. Pretty cool, you know, hot sandwich. This is a favorite all over, you know, the Middle East and in India as well. This is naan, and this is basically like a thin kind of flat bread, and there's like melted butter, garlic, and cilantro. And this is, you know, bread that you can eat on your own. You can, you know, sweeten it up by putting like a jam or a jelly on there, and you can eat it savory. You can mix it with like a curry or anything else that you're eating, any sort of condiments. You know, one idea that a lot of people do, this is a delicious thing that you can do, is like you take your naan, right? You see that naan, put it in your hand, like wrap it, you know, in your hand like this. Go back to the kebab. You take the kebab skewer, you know, wrap the naan around the kebab. You pull out the skewer, and there you go. You've got your kebab naan wrap, and that is delicious. I'm getting myself hungry this morning just looking at these slides. So, you know, one way, it's a very surface way to learn about a culture, but it's a good introduction, is to learn about the culture's food. I am a big sports fan, so I feel like you can like bond a lot with a culture. You can bond a lot with other people that you may not know with the common, you know, rules and spirit of sports. And so basketball is one of the more popular sports in Afghanistan, which is something pretty cool that I did not know. In fact, the Afghan national basketball team won the gold medal at the 2010 South Asian Games. I haven't checked in on them in more recent times, but the fact that Afghanistan is pretty good at basketball is like pretty cool, surprising information. Like most of the world's soccer, also known as football, is a very popular sport all over Asia, and Afghanistan is one of the um, competing teams in like the Asia Cup and Asian events. Um, One of my favorite sports, growing up and also as an adult, is a game called cricket. In India, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Sri Lanka, a lot of these Asian countries, cricket is the absolute most popular sport. Like the way we love basketball or football here in the United States, over there, cricket is absolutely huge. If you're a sports fan, you got to check out some cricket highlights. It's a really cool game. It's basically like a sped up, like more exciting version of baseball, in my opinion, at least. So Afghanistan is one of the better teams, probably one of the top 10 teams in the world right now in cricket. So the fact that their cricket team has been so successful is definitely a matter of national pride. So here you see the Afghan national cricket team in their blue and red colors. Next, we're going to talk a little bit about the ethnic groups in Afghanistan. So, think about the United States. There are so many different ethnic groups. We're a melting pot of different ethnicities. You have people, of Latinx heritage. You have people of Asian heritage. You have people of African heritage. It's like all kinds of ethnic groups all mixed in together. Which is great, but it's also difficult because not sometimes these ethnic groups have, cultural differences, religious differences, political differences, and so that can also create some tension. So in Afghanistan, you have so many different ethnic groups. Now, like in the United States, it's very diverse. The only thing is, we have probably not heard of all of these different ethnic groups, right? If I was to say, hey, in the United States, we have African Americans, we have Asian Americans, we have Latin Americans, you would understand what I'm saying. There's a lot of different people from different parts of the world that come together in the United States. Here in Afghanistan, all of these different ethnic groups that you see here on this list, they are all coming over from all these neighboring areas here in Asia. It's very similar to the United States. All of these different cultures coming together, hopefully getting along, but the truth is, because of religious, political, and social differences, they're not always going to get along, right? And so we don't really, I assume most of us don't really know a lot about these ethnic group. The Pashtuns, the Tajiks, the Hazaras, the Uzbeks, the Turkmen, the Nuristanis, the Balochs, and the Pashai. All right. In this book, we are going to focus specifically on two ethnic groups, the Pashtuns and the Hazaras. If you remember way back in one of the earlier slides when I showed those two kids who like flying the kites, one is a Pashtun, one is a Hazara. All right. And so, there is some cultural tension, some political, ethnic tension between those groups. But these two little kids, even though one is a Pashtun, one is a Hazara, they're boys, they're buddies. They get along just fine. They're like little kids. But, the adults see that, in a different way. So looking at the Pashtuns, as you can see, the Pashtuns are a large portion of the Afghan population. This, brown group right here. Here's an example of some famous Pashtuns. All right, we have a actress, an actor, and a cricket star. The Pashtuns are the largest ethnic group in Afghanistan. They make up 42% of the population. So once again, the largest ethnic group. You can see here, mostly throughout the southern part of the country and also sprinkled out towards the north. This is, again, the majority, M-A-J, majority ethnic group. Now, one of the minority groups is the Hazaras. Here, again, some famous Hazaras, a boxer, a politician, and a singer, right? Just to give you a feel for kind of like what these people look like, right? The Hazaras have a little bit more like Asian, like East Asian, like genetics, right? And you can kind of tell that by looking at their faces. So the Hazaras are the third largest ethnic group in Afghanistan. They make up only 9% of the Afghan population. So you can see that they are a minority, all right? And, if you know anything about like cultural or social politics, it can be very hard to be a minority in any particular country. And going back to the map here, you see the Hazaras are, the yellow, and you can see that this kind of central area in the country is made up of a lot of Hazara people, right? And so, once again, the Pashtuns, the majority, and the Hazaras, the minority. So I think that's enough for this video. So happy that you're here with me to learn about Afghanistan and to read this book called The Kite Runner. All right. Quick review here. Afghanistan is the setting of our new book and new movie as well. It's a beautiful country. It's got a rich history, right? It's not just a war-torn desert. Yes, there have been wars in Afghanistan over the course of history. And yes, the United States, has been involved in war in Afghanistan, but so have almost all other places on this earth, right? It's just the current political climate, the current, war happening, or the armed conflict in Afghanistan might make us feel like this is, this area is more susceptible to war than others, but it's not. It's just, just a country that happens to be going through some military conflict right now. Great food, great and cool music, sports, culture. There's all kinds of cool cultural things happening in Afghanistan. I want us to go into this book, and I honestly, in life, I want us to go into life with the attitude of saying, like, we have more in common with these people than we have differences. I think that's one thing that we all as humans can focus on, is to think about what makes us similar, what brings us together, what makes us feel good and feel connected to other people, right? I think there's quite a lot, especially when you throw in the immigrant story that happens in this book. And when one of these little boys grows up and moves to the United States and struggles to get on his feet and struggles to get a high school diploma, it's something that I feel like a lot of us can really relate to. So I think that's one of the biggest things about this whole book is feeling connected to a culture that we might not know about. Maybe that teaches us the life lesson that we can feel connected to people that we might not know a lot about, right? There are many different ethnic groups in this country. The Pashtuns and the Hazaras are two groups that we will focus on. The Pashtuns are the majority ethnic group, and the Hazaras are one of the minority ethnic groups. So I want to thank you for watching this video. I know it's kind of a long one, but it's important to get hip to the new story, the new setting. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Now that we're done here together, let's get some work done on classwork number 51. It's a pretty short assignment, and you're just basically going to work on learning a little bit more about the country, its culture, its music, and some other fun facts. So again, thanks for watching. I'm Mr. Oza, your English teacher. I hope you have a great class.